The average supermarket in the United States carries 40,000 products. We can browse through more than 50 TV channels, and we are overwhelmed with information on the internet. How do we decide when we have so many options? What factors lead us to choose A versus choosing B? My speech tonight is intended to you, no experts in the field of psychology, to introduce you to the psychology of judgment and decision making. How I'm going to do this, I want to show you 4 building blocks in the psychology of judgment and decision making, and hopefully after understanding them a little bit, you'll be able to make more smart choices in the future. The first thing I want to talk about is perception. What is perception? Perception is how our brain processes sensory information and creates meaning. It's how I perceive things in the environment, by looking, by listening, and interpret it and create my own meaning. And I see things in life this way. I don't want to go into the biology of perception now. All I want you to understand is that perception is very selective. We are highly influenced on what we expect to see. I want you to take a look at the first picture I have there, picture number 1. It's very ambiguous, black and white. But I guarantee you that if I ask you to create a story with a beginning, middle, and end, everyone is going to give me a different story. I asked one of my friends about this, what she thought about this picture, and she said the little guy, the boy, is not happy to take his violin lessons. My interpretation was completely different. I thought he was upset, look at the violin, because it was given to him by his father, who was not around anymore. Of course, I have lost a parent, and I totally projected my inner motives and needs in this picture. Psychologists use this test, it's called the TAT, to find out about people's personality and your motives. So what do you do next time you have to make a big decision? You have to think about your motives. Are you being driven by your motives? Ask your friends with different motives if they would make the same choice. The next thing I want to talk about is called cognitive dissonance. And it sounds very confusing, but it's not. What is cognition? It's a belief. So cognitive dissonance is a discrepancy in our beliefs. I'll give an example. Let's say I smoke, and I know it's bad for me. There is a cognitive dissonance right there. The theory of cognitive dissonance states that we are motivated to reduce or avoid psychological inconsistencies. An example is my story of the tailor. I hope you paid attention. But when the tailor changed the kid's motives from anti-Semitic to financial, he created that discrepancy. And what we do as human beings when we are faced in that situation, we either change our belief or behavior, and the kids changed their behavior. If you're an expert in this topic, you can have fun, and you can be a master and play with people. You should look into it because marketers use a lot, politicians use a lot. I do not have much time to explain. But when you have to judge something or make a big decision, you should pay attention if your beliefs and your behavior are matching, where the discrepancy is, and think a little bit about that. The third building block in judgment decision making I want to share with you is memory. And all I want you to know is that memory is constructive. It's not something you put here and then you use it later. I have an exercise for you. You can try after my speech. It's on false memories. We actually invent memories. If I ask you now to think about a moment you had a pleasure for a second, you're going to project yourself in the situation. You're going to imagine you going to the beach. You don't see yourself like here walking. You are constructing it. You construct your memory. So you definitely have to take notes, especially if you have lots of information. If you're in a meeting, always take notes because it changes with time. The last concept I want to talk about in the psychology of judgment and decision making is context dependency. effective decision makers do not thinking things in isolation. They think in terms of context. And I want you to look at the figure number 2 and look at those circles in the middle. The size of the circle will change depending what context is around it. They're actually the same size. The honesty of a friend of mine will change in relation to the honesty of my other friends. My judgment on his honesty will change in relation to the honesty of my other friends. If my other friends are not so honest, my honest friend will be more honest than he really is. So before making an important decision and judging someone, you have to think about these 4 concepts. Perception, think of your motives. Take notes if you're in a meeting, take always notes. We have so much information and we forget things. Think of the discrepancies between what you think and how we behave. And definitely think about context, and you definitely make better decisions in the future. Thank you.